Hello, and welcome back to Comedy Means Business. It's August 20th, and today's guest is Desi Lydic, a longtime fixture at The Daily Show who recently landed her latest trio of Emmy nominations for her work on the talk show, becoming the most nominated artist in the history of the short-form performer category. Lydic joined as a correspondent under host Trevor Noah back in 2015, and in the years since has had the chance to see, read, discuss, and learn a lot through the job. Over that span of time, she's seen the transition between 4 presidential administrations, but only more recently has she begun rotating in behind the desk as a member of the news team, fulfilling a dream of hosting a late-night series that she had once thought impossible. If it was challenging for Lydic to keep up with the headlines during the first Trump administration in 2017, she has to admit that as the years have gone on, things have gotten even harder. But in working alongside a crack team, she's learned to trust both her gut and her point of view, making the admittedly vulnerable experience of stepping into the chair commanded once a week by Jon Stewart manageable. On today's episode, we delve into the challenge of working in late night at a time when the future of the medium has become somewhat uncertain. In addition to this, we talk about predictions in the Trump-Epstein saga, life in the age of AI, the hopes she has for the episodes she takes on next, and more. Desi, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Certainly. So The Daily Show is up for 12 Emmy nominations this year. You received 3, becoming the most nominated performer in history in one of the short-form categories with your digital series, Desi Lydic Foxplains. This obviously isn't your first rodeo with awards. You've won an Emmy before, but how did it feel to get this reception this year for the show and for you?
It's wild. I demand a recount. It can't be right. Someone must have made a mistake. No, it feels so nice to have that kind of overwhelming support from the Academy and from our peers, particularly during this past year, with it being an election year. The entire staff works so hard. We've had multiple shows. We traveled for the RNC and the DNC and the election coverage and then the inauguration. And I don't know if you've noticed, but politically it hasn't exactly been smooth sailing. So yeah. So our team, the rewrites and staying on top of the news, everyone works so hard. So it felt especially wonderful this year for sure.
So we're in year 1 of the new Trump presidency, although it feels like it's been many years. Tell me
Hasn't
about the
it?
experience. Yeah. What has it been like covering this administration compared to the first time Trump took office, and has the approach differed in any way?
I think we're all just kind of hanging on for dear life at this point. The first go round, it was obviously intense, and going into it, we all had a lot of feelings about it. I would say that the news cycle picked up pretty significantly the first time that he was in office. Those 4 years did feel like a bit of an emotional roller coaster, and that the news cycle was constantly turning over. But now it just feels like it's been multiplied by thousands.
Yeah.
We now will have an entire show written top to bottom for rehearsal. We generally go down for rehearsal midday, like 2:45, 3 o'clock. We run through our script and we tinker. We come out of it. We figure out what jokes work. We streamline, we shape everything, we punch it up, and then we tape the show at 6 o'clock. Now I would say it's pretty often that we come down with a full script, and then something insane will happen at 4:15, and we are writing a top to bottom new script after rehearsal and just running it cold for the audience when they come in. It happens more often than you would think.
What is the most recent example of that you can remember?
Definitely. Good this was actually a fun news story, but the Pope, announcing the Pope, that was a full page 1 rewrite the day that happened. And that wasn't Trump related. Um, but gosh, it happens all the time. The Epstein stuff just a couple weeks ago, you know, oh gosh, it's like the news cycle is so overwhelming. I don't know if I can even remember yesterday. But yeah, it truly it happens, I would say, at least almost always like once a week when I host at this point.
How have you learned to deal with that? Because that is very difficult, and it's difficult as a journalist right now, even also for me to cover the news because it is relentless. No matter what side of news you're in, things are pretty. The churn is crazy.
Right. I'm sure. I'm sure it's much harder for real journalists. We at least have the ability to go, okay, well, can we mine some comedy out of this and go by that radar? But yeah, I mean, I've definitely learned to come in with strong ideas for what I want for that day, ideally, and then be willing to let them go at any point and just stay malleable. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I come from the world of improv, so I think I kind
Right.
of rest back on that. And there's just a lot of tossing out ideas and collaborating in the room. And our writers are incredibly talented. We are so lucky at the show that we have a team of writers that can pivot that quickly. It's, our the way that we make the show is a machine. It's very structured. It's very meticulous in terms of timing and how we're able to kind of like turn it around during the day. And that stability, that structure allows us to creatively stay malleable and shift throughout the day. And then just to kind of like make the best quick decision you can, follow your gut, try to, have a strong opinion about what's going on, and then just trust it.
Well, we last spoke in 2022, and since then you've become like a rotating host on the Daily Show. What has the experience been like, and what do you most enjoy about the current iteration of things?
Oh God, it's so nice to have a team to get to experience this with, because you know being a correspondent is a totally different skill set. It's a completely different job, in the sense that we're playing a character. We're playing the character of a correspondent. We have that armor. We can go full tilt. We go 200%, and we might satirically embody an attitude, and we're sort of safely contained within this character, right? Hosting is a whole other experience, and John talks about this. It's a vulnerable experience. You're sitting there at the desk, you are very much yourself. You're working with an incredible team of talented people, but you're saying, this is what I think, these are the stories I think are important, this is what I think is funny about this. And that, figuring out how to do that, learning how to do that, can feel like a lonesome journey. But to get to do it with these guys that I've worked so closely with for so long, my buddies, and to get to kind of trade secrets and pop into each other's offices and say, hey, I ran into this the other day, what do you do about that? What do you do to kind of work out, when the guest comes on and they want to talk about this, and how do you handle a story that has this amount of weight? We were able to lean on each other in that way, which is so nice. It's such a gift. And then to get to do it, to have John come in every Monday, this person that I've looked up to
Hmm.
for so long. He's the whole reason I wanted to be at the Daily Show. And I think I can safely say that for all of my colleagues, for us to get to watch him and see how he does it, it's a true masterclass.
Are there other ways in which your improv background has come into your hosting?
Yeah, I would say definitely it did come in handy as a correspondent, going out into the field and doing interviews and interviewing people man on the street, because you're talking to people who don't know that they are in on the scene. I mean, they are just a person just stating their opinions, so you don't know which way it's going to go. So I'd say that the improv background came in handy for that. And I think just the pace in which we need to work to make a strong choice as quickly as possible, and to follow your instinct and to be able to collaborate with the team, all of that really comes in handy in building the show every day. And then I would say, as in having guests on and having conversations with authors and artists and people who I find really interesting. I think the most important thing that I've learned in having these conversations with guests is just to stay present and to listen and to be curious. And those are all things that, I got to practice a little bit in my early days, doing improv for no one in a black box in the middle of
Yeah, yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah. Well, are there specific topics or guests you've found particularly gratifying to highlight recently?
Oh God, it's the coolest part of the job to be able to pop into our producer's office and say, "Hey, I just read this book and I'd love to have this author come on and chat about it." Or I heard this person on a podcast, or I saw this show and I thought this person was really talented. It'd be fun I'm curious about like what their upbringing was like. Can we have them on? It is so much fun. And our producers are phenomenal at suggesting really interesting guests. Beth and Shauna, they're so good at what they do. Yeah, I mean, I got to have Bryan Cranston on recently, who I'm such a huge fan of. I've admired him for so long. So having him on was a great treat. I'm a big Glennon Doyle fan. I've read everything that she's written. So getting to have her and Abby and Amanda on recently was awesome. We had Tressie Cottom McMillan on the day after the election, and she was just, I couldn't imagine a better guest for that day, however the outcome was going to be. But having her on was so fascinating and exactly what I felt I needed, at least selfishly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're pretty lucky in that way.
Could you expand on the election coverage or the coverage around that last year and what was most interesting to you? Like, what were some of the highlights?
God, it was just a real emotional roller coaster.
Yeah,
I
highlights or low lights, I guess. Like, might be more
Yeah.
apt.
I mean, I guess from a comedic standpoint, we're never at a loss for material. So that is a silver lining in all of this. But from day to day, we just never know what's going to happen. And one of the more challenging days was certainly the day after the election, and hosting on that day. I definitely was looking forward to walking into that, however it was going to shake out. But it was a tough day to come in to work for a lot of us. And
Sure.
we filmed a live show the night before with John. And so everyone came in, not just like now being aware of what the results were, but on about 4 hours of sleep. Some of us
Mm.
hung over. And that day, I didn't know any other way to approach it except for to come to the table with just as much honesty as possible. And we all just had this very open, honest conversation about how we were all feeling and where do we go from here, and not exactly knowing where we go from here and that being okay, and just living in what that was feeling like. But I have never been more proud to work at The Daily Show than that day when everyone came in and rolled up their sleeves and they gave 200%. So it's days like that when I'm just like, I feel really grateful that I get to work there.
When you're responding to current events, is there a sense of pressure that comes in, a feeling that you need to have the take right away?
Yeah, sometimes a little bit. I mean, fortunately, we've got John on Mondays. We've got, I get to work with a lot of other smart, insightful, funny people, and we all have our own individual takes. So I think getting to share some of that load that takes the pressure off a little bit. Um, so I try not to put too much pressure on myself, and I come in with, I start from a gut feeling. I try to educate myself as much as I possibly can, especially coming in on a hosting week. So I know at least what the stories are, what's going on, what the feeling is out there. And then I kind of just lean on my gut, and we just have very open, honest conversations. And we don't always know what it's going to be at the top of the day. Most of the time we don't. I might have a feeling of something, but it's going to turn over a million more times. So I think I've learned very quickly to trust the process, trust the team. There's a reason why these people are here and in the jobs that they have, and to trust that we'll find it.
Well, when you're not hosting, you're also writing and working behind the scenes. But what are your favorite parts of production day as host? Do you have a pre-show ritual or anything like that?
Yes. Oh, it's so funny. That's such a great question. I don't think anyone's actually asked that. Um, let's see. Well, right before okay, I'll answer. My favorite part of the day is always the big morning meeting that we have. So we have like a pre-morning meeting, And that's around 9:15 with a smaller group of the producers and writers and whoever's hosting. And that's when we start to kind of go through the top stories of the day, what we think we might want to cover. And we pick about a handful and then go into the larger morning meeting with our entire writing staff. And department heads and all of that. And that is the most fun part of the day, because you go in, you hear what the stories are, and I might have a couple ideas, but just sitting in the room with your funniest friends, watching clips and shooting the shit and saying the first funny thing that pops up into your head. It's just like we laugh our asses off. And that is truly the best part of the day for me anyway. And then I would say, okay, oh, pre-show ritual. Oh God, I am regimented to a fault. I've got like the throat coat tea. I have certain foods that I eat for lunch. I have like, I always try to sit down and I try to have a few moments of quiet right before I go out after I've like done all the prep. But right before I hosted for the first time, I was so scared to do it. And I was starting to have doubts. And I thought, what am I doing? I don't know if I can do this. This is feeling really scary. And I was talking to my husband about it, and he was trying to give me advice, but he didn't know what to say. And we got takeout one night, and I opened up the fortune cookie from the takeout, and it said, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible."
Uh-huh.
And my husband just looked at me. He's like, "Well, there you go. That's better than any advice I could ever give." So my
Yeah.
husband then took the fortune and he had it framed, and it's sitting in my office. So before I go out every show, I look at that and I go, "Okay, it's kind of fun to do the impossible," because that's what it feels like that every now and again.
Well, two of your Emmy nominations this year came for your enduringly popular digital series, Fox Plains. Can you talk about that and what's been interesting in terms of what you've been doing there lately?
Oh God, I love doing Fox Plains. I I grew up in Kentucky with a lot of Republican family members who love their Fox News, so it's been quite cathartic for me to get to do this. And they will laugh at it, which I
Okay.
appreciate. So at least we can
It's
unite
nice.
over
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting this year post inauguration. Now in this Trump 2.0, how Fox News has shifted, and it's not really even just Fox News anymore. It's Fox News, it's Newsmax, it's even kind of internet culture and people grabbing their phones and having to have the quickest, hottest take on something before they've had time to even digest the information. And so I
Yeah.
think we try to satirize all of that when we tackle Fox Plains. Um, it's the way that they will take kind of a very thin premise of a conspiracy theory and just blow it up into 9 days of full coverage to get people all worked up over. That's sort of been what we look for, those narratives, and try to, satirize them and heighten them to crazy town. But now in this second iteration of Trump 2.0, they've done this sort of backwards thing where instead of taking a premise that is not true and blowing it up into this big narrative that we all need to be afraid of, they're now saying they're taking a premise that is true and saying, "Don't look at this. You don't need to be worried about. Don't look over here, look over
Yeah.
there." So it's all about coming up with creative outside the box ways of telling you why something isn't important, like, the Epstein files or what have you. So that's been an interesting pivot that they've made. So then we've had to kind of pivot with them in the way that we tackle
Yeah.
Fox.
They get very creative, certainly, in how you
Yes.
can distort the narrative. It's fun. Um, is there a specific segment for that you think has resonated the most, maybe in the past year? Like, what are the ones people talk to you about?
I thought that the Epstein files one that we did just recently, I think that's the last one that we did. That was pretty fun, because that we got to play with, don't look over here, look over there. Here are all the reasons why this story is not important anymore, even though just recently we talked about how important this story is. It's the most important story that you need to not pay any
Yeah.
attention to. And then to get to kind of like play even the internal struggle of even realizing the hypocrisy of it and struggling with even myself not believing what I'm saying. All of that was really fun to satirize because you could see that in their eyes, that they're trying to follow along with what Trump is saying, and Trump is zigzagging all over the place. And it can be really entertaining to watch how they try to keep up with him and then double down. The mental gymnastics are so impressive, and so we have fun with trying to keep up with that.
Do you have any prediction on what's going to happen there? Because it seems like that is like the big topic, I guess, and it's something that is uh, turned people against him a little bit from his base, or made at least people raise certain questions where they might normally not.
Yeah, I don't think it's over. I'm still holding out a little hope that truth will come out, and that there could be a change here, but I don't know if there's one thing I've learned from being at the Daily Show for over 10 years, it's that I have no idea what's going to happen. None of us really
For real,
do.
we're in a very strange time where it's like, uh, there was such a different standard for what you could overlook
Right?
in a public discourse. It's very odd right now, the things that you can justify or rationalize.
It is, and we're also in a time where facts don't seem to matter. Everyone just has their own facts. I mean, everyone in his cabinet, these media outlets, like, there's no such thing as fact checking anymore. It's a desperate need to drive the narrative, to have control over the narrative, uh, and anything that overrides anything. So it's yeah, we're in a very, very strange time right now.
With AI as well, it seems like the other really big factor. Like, how do we get to a place that is not post truth, where we accept facts as facts and there is like corroboration of things? Everything is becoming very, very tricky in terms of how do you prevent people from being in their own silos and acknowledging a common truth, I guess, even if you're on opposing sides about something.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing I'm most afraid of, is not necessarily, you bring up AI replacing all of our jobs. I think that's of course, a deep fear. But when we start becoming more like AI and lose the ability to have empathy and to have conversations and to be able to connect with one another, I,
AI might be more empathetic than certain people.
oh
I think I
God,
think I think AI is
is
kind of
that
nice
where we're
to
at
you.
now? Oh no.
Yeah, it'll talk to you nicely. It's very
Oh
polite.
God.
um,
I'm actually not even here right now. I'm AI. Surprise.
exactly. Um,
It's yeah, we're in such a weird time.
Late night, the landscape is changing like crazy as well. Obviously, there's this bombshell revelation about the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and the Late Show franchise generally coming to an end. What is your take on the future of late night? Obviously, the digital landscape has become so important in relation to late night, but what do you think this format, this whole late night space, will look like even 5 years from now?
It's a great question. I don't know. I don't know what it'll look like 5 years from now. I know that, you know, I watched John and Steven religiously, coming up. They were a huge reason why I wanted to be on the Daily Show. I wanted to be a correspondent. Watching Steven do his thing on the Daily Show and then the Colbert Report, he's a huge reason why I auditioned for the show and desperately wanted it. So hearing that news was incredibly disheartening and heartbreaking, um, and shocking too. So, but I feel really proud to get to be part of the Daily Show and part of that group of people who came out of it. Oliver and Sam and Carell and Cordry and all these incredible comedians. I think the show's been around for over 25 years, and we've certainly been able to pivot during all kinds of different historical changes, transitions, pandemics, strikes, host shifts and rotations. We've managed to stick around this long, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that we have a platform where we can go and talk about the things happening in the world and find some sort of humor and catharsis through it. I really hope we get to continue doing that one way or another. I really do.
It seems like it's in these times that we absolutely unquestionably need voices like the voices you get on these kinds of shows, right? It's like it's a really dark world when you don't have someone uh presenting a counterpoint and I guess talking back and I don't know, it feels like it's a very vital thing to have in times where society and democracy are in such flux and under attack in certain ways. Yeah, just like with stand-up comedy generally, someone like George Carlin.
Yeah. Yeah. Anywhere where people are just saying the thing out loud, seeing what's happening, and someone who will honestly say, "This is what's happening," and being able to try to bring people together, make people think, make people laugh. It is a real privilege to have that place to go, to have that platform to be part of it, and then to get to listen to other people. I mean, that's how I find my catharsis. Like I said, I grew up in Kentucky. I A lot of my family members have different perspectives politically speaking, but we can all sit around a table and talk and make each other laugh, or watch something and all agree that it's funny, or all it's like, we don't think that we are trying that we're saving the world by any means, but comedy can be catharsis, and it can be unifying, and it's involuntary. It's one of the few things that your body does that is completely involuntary. So, I think in times like this, it feels like I certainly need that for my own mental health.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself consuming news in a completely different way now in your work over the last decade on the show than you ever had before? I guess like the news cycle has changed a lot, no, regardless for everybody. But I imagine there's something different in living within a show like The Daily Show, where it's such a core part of your existence.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of space to breathe. You kind of have to stay on top of it and see what's happening moment to moment. Um, so yeah, I think there are times when those of us who are hosting or try to be extremely tapped in and get some sort of diversity in where we're getting our information from, and then also checking in all over social media and finding out what people are talking about and what's trending. And it definitely helps when we decide what we're going to cover on the show, what's resonating with people, what do people want to know about. um but then we have times like this where I've got a little mini hiatus, and I try as much as I can to just bury my head in the sand and not stay so on top of it. You kind of can't help but to hear about the big stories, but it helps me to be able to pull back and detach a little bit, just for the sake of my own mental health.
Yeah. So I think you might have hinted at this, but has working in satire in this way and engaging in politics in this way, being on the ground, talking to people, having that dialogue with viewers of the show, has it made you more or less optimistic about the world and the future?
Oh, I feel more optimistic when I step out of my silo and go talk to people with different perspectives. Um, Absolutely, because if you try hard enough, and if you try to step into the conversation with a certain amount of curiosity and empathy, you can generally find something that you agree on. You can find some middle ground. At the end of the day, most of us really want the same things. We just believe in getting there in a different way. So, um, yeah, I think during times like this, when it's so easy to just stay in your silo and to be fed your algorithm and just have your opinion reinforced back to you over and over again, it's so important to step out and go have conversations and get curious, because it's the only way we're going to get through this.
That is the weird thing. It's like we've just, as a society, come to a place where it's easier than ever to not engage with anybody directly in person, and doing that for just a moment can change things. But if you're only engaging with people through the internet, if you're, I work remotely. If you are never connecting with people in person, it's very easy to get disillusioned or to have let that affect how you think about people.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And I think I have a 9-year-old son, and it's something that I'm very concerned about moving forward. I want him to know how to walk into a room and have conversations with people. I want him to know how to socialize and to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. It's I my fear is that these younger kids growing up now won't learn the skill to step outside of their bedrooms, or their video games, social media, their smartphones, and to be able to like get out into the world and live. So it's something, I struggle with it myself, but having a kid now, that's definitely even more of an incentive to try to focus on like how do we move through this.
For sure. Well, what do you think? Are there any like most notable non-comedy related skills you've gained from your time on the Daily Show? Like, what has it given you as a
Matt,
skill
I don't
set?
have any other skills. Really, my skills are limited at best. Um,
Disagree.
I will say, I think really learning how to trust the process, because I'm someone who can be extremely type A and rigid,
Sure.
and I might have a few control issues. You can ask my family members about that. Um, and I get overwhelmed easily, and I don't like taking too much on. And I think, okay, let me just focus on this one little thing and I can handle that. But the show works at a particular pace, and it sort of forced you not to overthink anything and to just sort of jump in, and you do your best and you make, the best quick decision you possibly can, and you learn how to trust your team. You learn how to collaborate. And so all of that has been particularly over the last year and a half, since the five of us have been hosting. I think that was a huge lesson. And then also just I walked into this not really thinking that I would ever have an opportunity to sit at the desk or host a late night show. That's not something that I set out to do. And I think for the longest time, I kind of put myself in a box and thought, like, that's not my thing. I don't, I wouldn't need to try that. That's not really what I'm good at. I'll try this other thing instead. And I'm really, really glad that they trusted me to do it. And then I kind of took a leap and jumped in to try it because I really love it. And I think sometimes even, us artists try to box ourselves in and think we only do this one thing. And I would just say, like, it's fun to allow yourself to be surprised every now and again, to
Hmm.
do something scary, even when you don't know if it's going to work out.
Sure, sure. Are there things you want for yourself creatively beyond the scope of the Daily Show right now, or obviously that consumes your time away from family, but are there other things that you think about that you would like to do?
Matt, are you offering me a job?
I could. You can
Yes, I'll
come.
take
You
it.
can come
Yes,
work here. Yeah,
I would love it. I would
work at
absolutely
Comedy
love
Means
it.
Business.
Yes, I listen, you don't have to ask me twice. I'm all in.
I mean, you work as an actor and things like that. Like, do you have? Is there anything, or is it right now? Is it just the Daily Show is what I'm doing? I'm really passionate about this, and if other opportunities come, great.
Yeah, I think I'm open to all of it. I love being at the Daily Show for sure. I've been there, there's a reason I've been there over 10 years. I love it. I get to work with my family. It's stayed creatively fresh. It feels like, I believe in what we're doing, and I'm very much enjoying it. But yeah, I mean, I love all of it. I love playing characters. I love the scripted world. I itch for that every now and again. Yeah, I definitely get excited to do all kinds of different creative things. And I think in the spirit of trying hosting for the first time, I'm very much of that mindset of like, yeah, let me try that new thing and see if it could work out. Who knows? I'm game for all of it.
Is there anything you can share in terms of plans going forward for The Daily Show when it comes to you, or things you would like to do, like things you would like to cover or anything like that?
Oh gosh, I hope we have a little less news coming up, actually. It would be nicer to be able to dig into some more evergreen non-Trump stories. I look forward to that if you could just whisper into the universe. Maybe
Totally.
we could just slow down the news cycle just a little bit. That would be nice.
Cleanse the palate.
Yeah, I think we can all use a little of that.
Well, it's been another year of really amazing work. Desi, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, Matt, thank you. Thanks for having me.